Hi everybody, it's me, Corey T, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to trust someone after they have hurt you. You really want to trust someone, you really want to feel that this relationship can work, but you're feeling all of this pain and resentment, maybe anger and fear about this person because of things that have happened in the past. So this video is going to be relevant to people who are thinking about a specific person, but it can also be relevant to people who may not be thinking about a specific person and they're just finding it hard to trust in relationships in general. Either way, I think you'll find this video useful. So I get asked this question a lot because, as many of you know, me and my specific person who I'm now with have been through many ups and downs in the past. There was a lot of pain, there was a lot of hurt, there were many ups and downs, and there were times where I felt incredibly angry, resentful, didn't even know if I wanted this relationship. And that's the first thing that I want to say, is that if you have been hurt, one of the first things that you've got to do is honour where you are, honour those feelings, allow yourself to feel them and process them. Because if we don't, we're left with the remnants of that trauma and those feelings that we've got in our body, and they are projected onto our relationships, and it makes it really difficult for us to move on from that old story and that old event. So if you've been hurt in the past or something's happened and you're feeling any anger, you're feeling pain, you're feeling fear about this situation that has happened, the first thing you've got to do is allow yourself to feel, express, cry, punch a pillow, scream into a pillow, talk about it with your friends, let it out, cry it out. It's so important. I remember one time in particular where I was so incredibly hurt by something that happened between me and Johnny, and I was in such pain. It was like physical pain. It hurt so much. I was absolutely heartbroken. And I felt like I would never be able to be with him again. I felt like the trust had just gone. That was it. It was just over forever. And it was so heartbreaking because it wasn't what I wanted to believe. I wanted to believe that there was a chance. But at the time I was so hurt that I didn't believe that there was a chance. And I remember there was an incredible amount of anger that I was feeling. And I'm not used to feeling anger. And so it was really unfamiliar for me to allow myself to feel what I was feeling. I cried for about maybe 3 months. And, you know, I went through the process of grieving and allowing myself and my body to release everything that I had felt around that event so that I could free myself and free my body of everything that was weighing me down around that time. And after a while, I'd say maybe 3 or 4 months, my body started feeling lighter. I'd released a lot of what was in me. And then over the course of the next year, those emotions came in waves, and every time they did, I'd let them out, I'd cry them out, I'd scream them out, and then they'd go again. And eventually it got to the point where I could not remember what that heartbreak felt like. I could not even conjure up the feelings of that heartbreak. I couldn't remember it because those feelings had gone within me. I had allowed myself to release them. And that meant that when we met again, I didn't have any of that resentment or anger towards him and that heartbreak, right? I still had the old story, and we're going to talk about that. I still had the old story and the fear of it happening again because my unconscious mind was wanting to protect me, and so I had that within me, but the heartbreak and the deep pain and the anger had been processed, and so I could have better conversations about it and we could talk about it more openly rather than me attacking him. I also realised my own part in it, right? So a lot of the anger that I felt was also directed at myself, and I had a lot of self-forgiveness to do. So there was forgiving him and there was forgiving me, because in reality I had betrayed myself in many ways in that first relationship that we had. I'd tolerated things that I actually wasn't really comfortable with. I'd not said my truth. I'd not been saying no when I meant no. I'd been making myself different because I wanted him to like me, and I was doing things that I thought that he wanted rather than showing up as my true authentic self. And so there was a lot of self-forgiveness that I had to do, and looking back I can see my own part in the manifestation of the pain and the hurt that happened that seemingly looked like it was because of him, when in reality I had to take responsibility for my part of it and my own part in the creation and manifestation of that event. So that was one part of it, taking responsibility. And this also helps reduce the anger towards the other person because you see your own part in it. That pain and that hurt was an incredible lesson for me because it taught me that I could feel anything. I could feel the worst feelings that I had ever felt and I could still be okay. And this is one of the really important other things that you need to do in order to trust someone, anyone, and a specific person, is learning that you can feel anything. You can trust yourself that the things that you are afraid of are actually not the things that you're afraid of. You're afraid of the feelings. And once you teach yourself and become aware of the fact that you can feel anything, you can feel and process anything, and you trust yourself and your body to be able to do that and to be able to guide you through any uncomfortable emotions that might come up. You are less afraid of the things that might happen because you know that you can tolerate uncomfortable emotions. So trusting yourself to feel any and all things is a really important part of being able to trust someone else, because it's your responsibility and your body that's going to get you through those difficult emotions, right? And you can do that. And we know that we can do that because all feelings come and go. They come and they go, and they might be really uncomfortable, but we know that they're going to go again. So if you've had a really painful experience and you've been hurt in the past, notice how you felt really awful and then you felt slightly better. And then maybe you felt really awful again and then you felt slightly better. And maybe you're feeling a lot better than you did when it initially happened. And this is really good evidence for you because it's showing you that you're capable of feeling really uncomfortable things. That's not to say that you should tolerate uncomfortable things, and this isn't my next point, right? My next point being that you can trust yourself to say no. You can trust yourself to set boundaries, right? Being able to trust yourself that you will prioritize yourself and that you won't tolerate anything less than you deserve. And this comes into you knowing your worth. So part of my work and my journey to being able to trust Johnny was being able to know and understand, oh my God, I am worthy of an amazing relationship. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of affection. I am worthy of commitment and loyalty. I am so worthy of those things. And really knowing that I was no different from anyone else who had all of those things and more, that I deserved those as much as anyone else did. So deciding that that was true, deciding that that was my truth was such an important part of me being able to know that I wouldn't accept anything less. So when the time came for me to be able to put that to the test, when I was experiencing this kind of half in, half out situation with Johnny, I knew that I could trust myself. I knew that I could trust myself because I was able to say no to that. I was able to set a boundary and say, no, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you right now because this is, undermining what I think we are. This is undermining what I think I am, and I'm not willing to stay here and tolerate this. That felt amazing because that was me really putting myself first, and that gave me a sense of love that I had always wanted. And it gave me the ability to know that I could feel that and that I could take that into any relationship and any circumstance. So for me, that experience of having set a boundary and saying no and backing off from a situation with my specific person that wasn't working for me and was not reflecting to me the worth that I knew I felt I was inside and am inside, right? So because I had that experience of setting that boundary, it gave me the comfort and the knowledge to know that if I've set this boundary and I have shown up as this person, then I know that he has to see me like that too. He has to see me as someone who respects herself. He has to see me as someone that he has to respect because I'm going to do that. And so me doing that and having that experience made me able to trust that he would feel the same about me as I was feeling about me. So it's so important, the piece on self-worth and being able to trust yourself to say no to something that doesn't work for you. Being able to do that gives you your power back, right? Rather than looking at the other person and saying, are you going to hurt me? Please don't hurt me. I'm worried that you're going to hurt me, and trying to control what they do in order for us to feel safe. We have to be the safety. We have to show up as the safety. We have to show up as the model of the behavior that we expect to receive. And when you do that, when you actually do that, it's so much easier to trust someone else that they will treat you as you treat yourself. I know you've heard this all so many times, but it is so true. And it's actually, you know what, it is easier said than done, because getting to the point where you can set a boundary and where you can say no and where you can walk away because you actually want to, because you respect yourself more than wanting something that isn't right for you and isn't showing you the worth that you feel you are within, right? When you get to the point where you want to do that, that's because you've done the work and the self-awareness to know maybe why you found it hard in the first place. And you understand yourself to the point where you can see, oh my God, yeah, I understand why I found this difficult. I can see my patterns, and you've understood the old story and how you've been showing up and how you've been maybe trying to please other people in order to feel validated within yourself. When you understand that that validation and that love has to first come from within you so that you can model it, and that you actually can't get that validation and sense of love from anyone else. You have to be it and bring it to the relationship. When you really know that and you've understood that, then it's much easier for you to set boundaries and for you to do these things that maybe once you found really difficult and have led you to manifestations where you may have been betrayed or hurt or lied to or whatever it is. Okay, so whenever you've been tolerating behaviour that you didn't like, or you've not been expressing your dissatisfaction with something or how you would like it to be different, and you've been saying yes when you meant no and no when you meant yes, right? Those things are all an indication that you've been looking outside of yourself for validation and a feeling of safety within yourself, and that you maybe have that I'm not enough or I'm not worthy belief within yourself that you need to work on. And that is a really good place to start, knowing your worth, knowing that you are more than enough, and knowing that there's no person who can take or give that to you, right? They can't give you your worth, they can't take away from it. So that's all got to come from within you, and you deciding and knowing that you are worthy. Make a decision to know that you're worthy enough to have exactly the relationship that you want. And you will then embody the behaviours of someone who believes that, which makes it much easier for you to believe that someone will show up for you in the way that you expect and that you want and you deserve. So this then goes into, when you become aware of these changes that you're making within yourself, you're starting to change the story of what love could look like for you, what relationships can look like for you, and maybe what a relationship with a specific person can look like for you, because you're different, you're changing, so your story is changing, your story in love is changing. So what is your new story in love? What does that look like? You know, write it down, play with it in your mind, visualize it, whatever it is that you want it to be, whatever you want love to be, no matter what you've grown up with, whatever you've been modeled by your parents or caregivers or whatever. You can change the story, your love story, to be whatever you want it to be. So get really clear on what your new story is and decide to show up as a person who believes that that's the way love is for you every day. You know, you can start the day by saying, who am I showing up as today? Who am I showing up as? Someone who believes what? What do you believe? You know, that's the person that you've got to show up as. Again, this is easier said than done, because your unconscious mind is just going to try and protect you. So you might feel physical sensations of anxiety or fear, or you might be triggered by something that will remind you of that old story. And that's where you've got to say, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that old story anymore. I see you and I feel that feeling. And where people get tripped up is they think, oh no, I'm feeling this and therefore I'm creating it. But actually your safety blanket is really like being able to see, okay, I'm triggered, yeah, because that's my old story. And now that I have the awareness that that's my old story and I don't identify with it anymore, it can't manifest. And that's your safety blanket and your way forward to be able to say, yes, I can feel this. Yes, I honour this. And yes, I know, unconscious mind. Yes, I know, inner child, that you're so scared and you're wanting to protect me, but I've got this. I'm going to live in a new story now and it's going to be better. It's going to be better. So that's a really important thing, changing the story of yourself in love. And then, of course, you've got changing the story of the other person, you know, your perceptions of that person. If you can just start by saying to yourself, there is a possibility that this person can change. There is a possibility, like I have changed, that this person can change. By I mean you. You know, as we change, we see the possibility within ourselves and other people to change. So if you can do it, they can do it, right? So notice how much you've changed, notice how much you've grown, and know that that is possible for them. When you can see the possibility that they can change, you can start buying into the story that they can be and maybe already are different, that they have grown, that they've had their own lessons, that they're experiencing their own lessons and their own growth now, and that they can be someone, and that you see them as that person, right? You see them as the version of them that you want them to be and that you believe that they actually are. Because a lot of the time, you know, the behaviours that people do are a coping mechanism. They're trying to meet a need within themselves that they're unaware they have. So often people don't actually mean any harm. They don't mean to hurt you. They're just trying to meet an unconscious need that they don't know they have, and they haven't done the growth and had the self-awareness to know what that was and know how to meet it in a more healthy way. So if you want to trust a specific person, there's an element of understanding that you can bring into this, and compassion for mistakes that people make, for times in people's lives where people don't feel completely clear about their decisions and what they want, right? There's an element of that, but also what's really important when you do go into a relationship and when you think about being in a relationship is communication, is having open communication and clear communication. And I think especially if you have been hurt by a specific person, you are within your right to expect this open communication, right? You're within your right to expect transparency and clarity. So for example, when me and Johnny got together, we both knew that I'd been hurt in the past, that there'd been many ups and downs, that it hadn't been easy for us. And what happened with me and Johnny when we first got together was that I was really honest, and I said, you know, it's been really difficult, and actually I'm going to find this really difficult. I think at first, maybe for a while, I'm going to find it difficult for me to trust this situation, and I'm working on it, and I'm growing, and I'm understanding myself better. But for me to be able to really trust you, I'm going to need this open communication, and I'm going to need transparency. And maybe sometimes I'm going to ask for something that in the long run, maybe I won't need. But for now, I really hope you can understand that this is quite nerve-wracking for me. You know, we've been through a lot and I really want this to work. And so he understood that I was nervous about going into this situation, going into this relationship. He understood his part. He understood and took responsibility for what had happened in the past. He said sorry, and he was open to talking about it, sometimes at length. And those conversations made me feel like he had the maturity and the ability to be able to, take self-responsibility, and for me to know that I wasn't accepting something where I didn't feel safe. For me, those conversations were a requirement for me to be able to enter into the relationship. I needed to know that he had understood the past and his part in it, you know, because I'd worked so hard on understanding my own part in it. I personally needed to have the conversation where I knew that he had understood his in it too, and that we were different now, and that he felt different now. So we had a lot of those conversations. In the first 6 months of our relationship, I was battling not only with my old story of him, and my story of relationships and how they'd always gone, but I was also battling with my own avoidance in relationships. So I have faced a hell of a lot of anxiety in relationships in general, and in this relationship. And at the beginning, it was really, really difficult because there was so much to overcome. But what I thought was, well, I'm going to have to do this no matter who I'm with. You know, no matter who I end up in a relationship with, I'm going to have to learn and overcome these feelings and these fears. So I might as well do it with the person that I want to be with. And this relationship is obviously here for me to do that. So I'm going to do it, and I'm going to feel the fear. I know that I'm capable of feeling fear and uncomfortable emotions. And I trust that this is what it is now. I had got the commitment, and I knew that he wanted to be with me. I knew that. And I knew that I was different. And I knew that I had set a boundary that meant that he had to respect me. So I had that sense of trust within myself. And then the work of consistently looking at my triggers, soothing my triggers, you know, and occasionally, especially at the beginning, I would ask for reassurance, you know, and having the belief that he wants to make me happy. Right? He wants to be with me. So giving him an opportunity to make me happy, giving him that opportunity to help me feel better, made him feel like he was doing something for me, you know, for us. So I said to him, you know, he was like, how can I help? What can I do to make you feel better? He wanted to find a way. At the end of the day, it was me that had to do it, not him. At the end of the day, learning to trust was a me job, not a him job. That is the mistake that so many people make. We look at our partners and we want to know that they're going to keep us safe, that they're not going to do anything to hurt us. But that feeling of safety has got to come from within us. Someone once said to me, if you're looking at him for safety, you're going to be looking at him for a really long time. You've got to be the safety that you're seeking. And that includes, you know, working on nervous system regulation, working on communication, working on openness, working on leaning into uncertainty, right? Because we just run away from uncertainty. I've said this so many times, run away from uncertainty. And that creates a lot of problems because we try to find it where we can't. And also, part of learning to trust is understanding that some things are uncertain and that there is a risk in all relationships. And we have to be willing to face that risk. And that comes into that point I said before about knowing that you can trust yourself to feel any and all emotions, right? In order to be vulnerable, you know, the opposite side of vulnerability is taking the risk to be vulnerable, right? Taking the risk of the pain that you might feel if you get hurt, you know. So we've got to be willing to do that in order to experience connection and vulnerability with yourself and other people. So these were all the things that have really, really helped me. And I'm not going to say that it's easy, because honestly, it's been really hard. It's been so hard at times to overcome the things of the past and the stories of the past. But it is a matter of persistence and trusting and envisioning what it is that you want, what type of relationship that you want, and trusting that you're worthy of that, you can get there. You've just got to start to change the story, comfort yourself, and set boundaries, honestly. And then you start to be able to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, you just naturally do trust other people, including your partner, right? Because you feel secure and stable within yourself. So your unconscious mind stops looking for problems. And that's where, you know, the nervous system regulation comes in as well. Because when your nervous system is calm and your neuroception there is not like on hyper alert, it's not looking for problems. There's no reason to assume that something might go wrong. So when your body is calm, your mind is calm, and there's no reason to look for, you know, possible reasons why someone might hurt you, you know. So much of this, like so much of it, is an inside job. Trusting someone else is an inside job. And as I said, it's not easy. And some things we're not supposed to do alone. I've had so much support from mentors, coaches, therapists. I've had so much support, and I could not have done it without that support. So if you feel like you're struggling with it, reach out for help. You know, I'm here for that. That is what I do. I've had the experience and the understanding to know what it's like. I really do understand this process of absolutely desperately wanting to change the story in love. I really, really know. Wanting to be able to trust, wanting to be able to be vulnerable. I know what it's like, and I'm here for you if you would like to book a one-to-one session or a package of sessions. That is what we can do together. Learn how to soothe yourself, learn how to lean into uncertainty, and learn how to trust your partner and create the amazing, beautiful relationship that you've always wanted. You know, it's a journey. It is a journey. So where you are now is exactly where you're meant to be. You're not doing anything wrong. Your feelings are not wrong. They all make sense, and everything's unfolding in perfect timing, exactly as it should. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to book a one-to-one session, I'm going to leave the link below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.